Worried about what's happening in the real estate market? I'm going to break it down for you right now. Hey, Jordan Matin here. And the market in Portland, Salem, Vancouver, really nationally has completely slowed down. And why is that? Interest rates, right? Now, the Fed rates and interest rates are not exactly tied together, but they are, right? The base cost of borrowing money for banks has to affect the cost of us borrowing money to buy and sell real estate, right? And so as those costs have come up substantially in the last 18 months, really from 3.5%, 4.5%, up to what's almost 8% now in this September, October market, 2023, it's just created a lot of costs on it. If you had a $2,400 a month mortgage, today it's $3,200. If you had a $3,200 mortgage, now it's $5,000. And what does that do? It goes right to the banks. The Fed is trying to bring down the huge increase in inflation. Inflation is basically the cost of goods and services increasing, right? A loaf of bread, it used to be $3, now it's $6. Tomorrow it'll be $9, right? That's inflation. And basically the money you have basically being watered down. Well, it got watered down because there was so much money fed into the economy during COVID, right? To stimulate either businesses or individuals and keep the economy rolling. Well, now they're pulling back and everyone's being affected, whether it's a house, a car, a boat, you're buying a washing machine, everything. This inventory is going to increase across the board, not just real estate. But days on market is increasing, right? There's less buyers in the market, not to mention the fact that a lot of sellers have that 2-3% interest rate locked in from 2 years ago. They don't want to move from a 3% rate to an 8% rate and buy the same house effectively across the street and have it cost them $1,500, $2,500 more a month. So because of that, the transaction volume is going down. July of 2023 in the Tri-Counties of Portland, there were 1,950 sales. That's commercial, that's residential, that's land, it's on market, off market, everything. July of 2022, there were over 5,000. So you're seeing a massive reduction in the amount of transactions. So what does this mean to you? If you're a buyer, it's going to cost you more in your monthly payment. Now, I'm not going to be one of those realtors that says, oh, you could just refinance in 12 months at a 3% interest rate. It's just not going to happen. It's not true, okay? And so I'm not going to, lead you down a river for a quick commission check and have you get burned. Do I believe that rates are coming down? Yes. I believe that interest rates are going to be in the mid sixes by April. Now, I know the Mortgage Brokers Association thinks that in Q4 of 23, rates are going to be 6.5, and I think they're absolutely insane. No one believes that. It's just not true, okay? It's just not going to happen, right? And so, but mid sixes, low sixes, high fives by end of the year, 2025, that's possible. I think it's reaching, but I think sixes would be expected. So what does that mean? If you're a buyer, yeah, you're going to pay more on a monthly payment without question if you can qualify. You might have been qualified at $500,000 and today you're qualified at $350,000, right? You might have been qualified at $1 million and now you're qualified at $700,000. But the fact of the matter is that because of days on market increasing and the cost of those payments and less people being able to purchase homes on market, even though there's less of them, their inventory is increasing. It comes down to supply and demand. Demand is down, supply is up. That leads us more into a buyer's market. Traditionally speaking, a buyer's market, 6 to 7 months of inventory. Right now in the Portland market, we're at 2.5. But because of the speed at which real estate transactions happen, I believe our true market, days on market, is probably 4 or 5 months. Salem is probably 3 months, Vancouver is probably 3 months, but I believe that it's a little longer than what's actually being reported because it's real estate. It takes 90 days for anything to go through, right? You sign a paperwork, you put it on the market, you get an offer, it closes, it's about 90 days. So things are taking a little bit longer. So what does that mean to me? I think you can get better pricing right now. Buyers can buy a home for less purchase price. Now the payment will be higher, but you can refi 12, 18, 24 months, right? Again, I don't think it's going to be at some 4% magical number, but from 8 to 6, yeah, that's doable. I think that's a realistic figure. And personally, I would rather pay a higher payment for 12 to 24 months and pay an extra $500 a month, let's say, $6,000 a year, $12,000 over 2 years, and save $100,000 on my purchase price. That's something I would be willing to do, right? 2 years ago, everyone was saying, don't look at the purchase price, look at the interest payment. I never bought into that. And the reason why is because I would personally would rather owe less money, right? I don't want to owe $1 million when I could owe $700,000, right? And that's the flip of it today, right? Purchase price is going to be lower and your payment will be higher, but you can refi it later. More importantly, you can pay down that loan faster over time, right? And I think that just makes more sense financially. From a seller's perspective, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt, right? Unless you've lived there for 50 years, you have a 2.5%, 3.5%, 4.5% interest rate. And when you go to buy, you're going to be back at 7.5%. So you're going to hit there. On top of that, you think your neighbor, 2 years ago, your neighbor sold for $500, so you could sell for $550. Today, if your neighbor sold for $500, you may get $460. And on top of that, you're probably looking at buyer closing costs. I see across the board over the next 90 days that every deal we get right now, I'm seeing $20,000, $25,000, $35,000 in buyer closing costs, not for repairs. It's for discount points to the lender to buy the rate down from 7.75 down to 5.25, so that it actually is a realistic number. And you might say, well, I'm not going to pay that. That's fine. Your house just won't sell. Okay. So you need to be motivated, right? You need to be motivated. Why would you want to move right now? Well, job transfer is a big one. Divorce is a big one. Growing families. But a lot of the big reasons I see people moving is if they're going to be able to buy something at a bigger number, they're going to be able, when that number, if their house is, let's say, yesterday was worth $500, today it's worth $450, but they're buying a $1 million house that's really worth $900, they're going to make that income. So they may lose it on the front end, but they'll make it up on the back end, right? Because prices are going to go back up. Because no matter what, even with the rates and everything the way it is, ultimately speaking, right, there's a shortage of homes, right? And that shortage is there. And we just haven't been building the last decade. People got slaughtered 14, 15 years ago when just institutional builders and families went bankrupt, and they just never have rebounded, right? On top of that, here in the Northwest, we have the urban growth boundary. So we're tightened up, right? When market changes, we don't get the huge drops you see in places like Florida or Idaho or Phoenix is a perfect example. That sprawl, they don't have an urban growth boundary. It just goes on and on and on. Well, when the market changes, it changes big. Here, it doesn't change as much because it's more tight. And you hear infill a lot. We've heard of ADUs or accessory dwelling units, right? This is that urban growth boundary pushing it in. So what does that mean? If you're in a $1 million house going down to a $400,000 house, it may not make sense for you to make that move right now, because you're going to go from big to small. When prices go back up, it's not going to go up as much. But that's a financial decision. Life goes on, and you have to make a decision if you're willing to wait longer in exchange for money. I think that overall, in 18 months from now, I think that nationally and locally, they'll be reporting that prices went up. I think it's a little bit misleading because, if there's multiple offers and it went up, and then now they're coming down and not multiple offers or asking for closing costs, it's built into the price. There's a lot of different ways to take data and make it look something different, right? But ultimately speaking, there's less sales in general. Buyers have more to choose from, and they have more options. It's just going to cost them more, okay? But I bet you by July of next year, that sales volume from the 1950 in July, which was extreme, I think it'll be back and really cracking, because 6 is historically not that bad of an interest rate. And prices coming down, inventory's up, and there's going to be pent up demand, and we're going to be selling houses. That said, the deals are coming, right? It's a good time to be able to buy real estate and get good pricing. And that's what it is. And despite all this, Matin Real Estate, we're still selling houses. I mean, we are still clicking along. And I've been very fortunate that we've had such a great community of not only brokers, but our community, you, right? That's worked with us for, over a decade. So, of course, every situation's unique. I want you to know what's happening in this market. So reach out to one of our professional brokers or myself. I'd be happy to go through and look at your numbers and see what we can do to make your purchase or your financial investment in future the best it possibly can. Hey, thank you so much for watching, and please like and subscribe or give us a thumbs up. Thanks.